Today's lesson is how to use a protractor to measure angles. Right here I have a couple of examples of angles, but I'll get to them in just a second. What I want you to focus on right now is the actual protractor itself. So I'm just going to turn this page over so I have a plain white background for you to see it on. And what you need to be aware of, and I'll zoom in on this, is that protractors, this one here is actually an example of a 180-degree protractor, but you can also find protractors that are 360 degrees, which would complete a full circle. But for today's exercise, we're just going to be using the 180-degree protractors. So what you would do is pay close attention, first of all, to the zero line. So if you can see, zero would start along here. See this line that goes right to the edge? And it's not quite identified, but it's okay. I'll show you the difference in a second. This center point is very important. That's where you would line up the center or the vertex of the angle that you're trying to measure. If you line up that line, it should line up directly to the beginning at the zero line. Now, if the angle opens from right to left, then you would follow along the inside as it goes up and all the way around to 180 degrees. They go in intervals of 10, and inside each one, if you wanted to go more precise, you can look and see how they're individually and then identified by fives. So each long intersection in the middle is counted by 5. Okay, if you were to follow along an angle that opens up from left to right, using the center vertex, the line would start from here at the zero. You always have to make sure that the line would line up at the zero first and fall within the protractor. So then you would look in that case on the outside lines and count 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, etc. Don't forget your benchmarks as well, folks. You have 0, and then half of a right angle. You know a right angle is 90 degrees at this point. We've already discussed the different benchmarks to keep in mind. Half of that is 45 degrees. So if you're looking at the other part, half of the protractor, if you divide this in half, is 90 degrees. That's a right angle. Anything that's less than 90 is going to fall into an acute angle. Anything more than 90 is an obtuse. So let's practice this now. Let's take a look at the first angle. Here we go. We have to remember, see that center point again? Not all protractors have it, but you can find just below the 90-degree line is where you're going to line up your vertex of the angle. So let's line this up. You can see it in the center. I'll zoom in a little bit more for us. There we go. And now, this is the line I was telling you about. You have to make sure that this line lines up at the beginning at the zero line. This is your zero line right here, okay? 0 degrees. Now, I'm going to follow along. If I'm following 0, I'm not going to start at 180 and go to 170, 160. That doesn't make sense to me. So what I'm going to do is follow along the inside line at 0, and then it's going to increase by 10s, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So I know that this angle is going to fall between 60 and 70 degrees. Now, I have to go back up to the top notches to double check and see if I can identify specifically what this angle actually is. So, looking at it right now, I'm at 61, 62. Can you all see that? So, this line in the center of my angle indicates that the angle is opening up in this side. This is a 62-degree angle. And because it's less than 90, I know it's going to be acute. Okay, move along. So let's go to the next one. This one here, do the same thing. I'm going to line it up, my center vertex, line up my 0 line over here. Now I'm going to follow along again because this angle opens up from right to left. So I'm going to go on the inside and I'm going to measure. It's approximately, there we go. It's approximately 140 degrees. So I can write down 140 degrees because this is the line that I'm actually paying close attention to. If I wanted to, for example, line this up, and I could do it upside down, but it doesn't really benefit me at all. Yes, I can line up that line, but it doesn't tell me what the inside of that angle is. So always make sure that your line that you're starting with centers there, starts at the 0, the vertex is in the middle, just below the 90-degree line, and then you can measure it out. Okay? Good luck and practice measuring those angles.